Have you ever had that feeling? You're doing everything you're supposed to with your investments, you're chasing the best returns, you're keeping an eye on the market, but you still don't feel like you're actually getting anywhere. It's like you're on a financial hamster wheel, running faster and faster, but the destination is, well, you're not even sure what it is. Okay, let's get into this, because we are about to unpack a strategy that could totally reframe how you think about your money.
And look, it's a super common feeling, right? You're investing, maybe your portfolio is even growing, but if I asked you, have you achieved financial independence? You probably couldn't give a clear yes or no. You're stacking up money, sure, but you're not necessarily building the exact life you want. And that's really the core problem with so much of traditional investing. It's missing a why.
And this is why having a plan is so critical. I love this quote because it really frames the stakes perfectly. Think about it. Every single dollar you invest is like a soldier you're sending into battle. Without a clear strategy, without a specific objective for them to capture, you're just sending them out randomly and hoping for the best. That isn't a plan for victory. That's a recipe for frustration.
So what's the alternative to just blindly chasing returns? Well, it's a huge shift in mindset. It's about moving from that chaotic, random battlefield to a well-organized, strategic campaign. It's called investing with purpose.
So what is investing with purpose? It's the deliberate alignment of your money with your specific life goals. See, that's not about finding the quote-unquote best investment out there in a vacuum. No, it's about finding the right investment for a specific purpose. It's the act of connecting every single financial decision you make directly to a concrete outcome you actually want in your life.
Let me break it down even more simply for you. You're giving every single dollar a job to do, a specific mission. $1's mission might be to fund your retirement in 20 years. Another dollar's mission might be to pay for your kid's education in 10. Each one gets a crystal clear assignment, a target it has to hit. It's kind of like that classic grandmother's envelope system. She wouldn't just throw all her cash into one big pile and hope for the best, right? Of course not. She'd have an envelope labeled rent, another for school fees, and maybe one for a holiday. We're just modernizing that same intuitive idea. Instead of physical envelopes, we're using different investment accounts or portfolios, each one perfectly tailored to a specific goal's timeline and risk level. It's simple, it's brilliant, and it works.
Okay, so theory is one thing, right? But let's look at a real-world story that shows just how transformative this approach can be. This is where the abstract concept suddenly becomes incredibly real.
So let me introduce you to Sarah and her husband. These were successful people, very active investors, especially in real estate. But they had that same nagging feeling we talked about earlier. They were accumulating all these assets, but they couldn't answer a simple question. Why are we buying this next property? What specific goal is this actually achieving for us? Then they came to a crossroads. They had 16 million Kenyan shillings on hand. Now, conventional wisdom might say, hey, just use that to pay down that big loan you have. But because they'd started learning about purpose-driven investing, they asked a different question. Could this money be put to work to solve a specific problem for us right now?
And this was the result. They built a new portfolio specifically designed to produce 155,000 shillings every single month. They had successfully sent their money on a mission, generate enough income to service their loan. And guess what? It was working like clockwork.
That initial success, seeing that 155,000 come in every month, man, that was a catalyst. It made them look at their entire financial picture through this powerful new lens, especially their biggest, most valuable asset.
And this was the eureka moment. On one hand, they had their massive 250 million shilling property, and it was generating 450,000 a month. But on the other hand, their much smaller 16 million portfolio was generating 155,000. When they did the math, they had a shocking realization. Their huge property was incredibly inefficient compared to their new, small, purpose-driven portfolio. Their eyes were completely opened.
That one calculation changed everything. They realized they were sitting on all these assets that weren't working effectively towards their ultimate goal, which was freedom. So they re-strategized their entire financial life around purpose. And the result was absolutely incredible. They were both able to retire and live off the income from their new, much more efficient portfolio.
That's a seriously powerful story. But how do you actually apply this to your own life? How do you go from feeling lost to building a plan that can lead to that kind of incredible outcome? Well, I want you to start thinking of yourself as a financial architect. Let's use an analogy we all understand. Building a house. First, you have a dream, right? A 5-bedroom home, maybe a big kitchen, a backyard. Then you go to an architect and you describe that dream. The architect translates your dream into a detailed blueprint. And only then, only when you have that clear plan, do you actually start construction.
Financial planning works the exact same way. See the parallel? Your life goals, that's the dream. A good financial advisor, they're your architect. They help you translate those dreams into a tangible investment plan, which is your blueprint. That blueprint specifies exactly which types of investments are right for each of your goals. And finally, you begin constructing your portfolio based on that precise plan.
So what kind of goals are we talking about here? What are your missions? Is it to generate enough income to retire yourself from your salary by age 55? Maybe it's to fully fund your child's university education so they can graduate completely debt-free. Or maybe it's to build a special fund that insulates your family if your business ever hits a rough patch. These are real, tangible missions for your money.
And this brings us to a totally new way of defining what success even means. Ultimately, this entire approach forces you to ask the single most important question: what are you actually trying to build with all this money? It shifts the entire focus of investing.
This right here is the fundamental shift. We have to change the scorecard. The old metric was all about chasing a high percentage return, 20%, 50%, whatever. It was an abstract numbers game. The new metric is so much simpler and more powerful. How many of my life goals have I successfully funded? Success is no longer abstract. It's tangible, it's personal, and it's deeply meaningful. This quote just captures the emotional power of this new metric perfectly, doesn't it? The real win isn't hitting some arbitrary 20% return on a spreadsheet. The real win is watching a dream you planned for years ago actually come to life, fully funded by the strategy you put in place. It's about seeing the purpose of your investment finally fulfilled. And that's what it all boils down to. Success stops being just a number, and it becomes a lived experience. A retirement you can actually enjoy, an education that's paid for, a home that's finally built. It's the real-world outcome of your money's mission.
So, I'll leave you with this one question to really think about. You're working hard, and your money is probably working hard too. But is it just working on a random set of tasks? Or is it executing a deliberate, strategic plan to build a specific life that you actually want? Is your money just chasing returns, or is it chasing your dreams?